Hello, am I, one second, have I switched on the, hello, am I audible now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
ma'am.
it's audible.
It's clear?
Yeah, clear.
Thank you, thank you. Sorry for the problem. And you can't help with technical glitches. What to do? We are doing our very best anyway. This is about cross-cultural communication, and I'll just go through the slides again at a little speed. I'll increase my speed. Okay, it's kind of a fast forward. Okay, the reasonable person adapts himself to the world, while the unreasonable one persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. What does this mean? This means if a person is logical enough, okay, if you are practical enough, you need to know that you need to adapt to the world, and you cannot expect the world to adapt to you. And I even gave the differences between adapting and adapt and adopt, which students use interchangeably, which are two different words. This is for those who joined late. To adapt is to make try to go along with the flow, to mold yourself to any given situation, whereas to adopt is to make someone your own. You adopt an orphan, or you adopt a stray cat, a stray dog. Okay, so there is a huge difference between the two words. So we need to be logical enough so that we learn to adapt ourselves to the given world. Why is it that we need to do so? So that we can become better communicators and we can succeed in life. Now, what is culture? Now, culture is the lens through which you view the world, and communication is culture specific. Most of the times, it is culture specific, and we are, see, every individual is a, say, you can say, a sum total of culture, is background, social attributes, attitude, is upbringing, okay, educational qualification. So many things go into preparing or making up for your cultural lens, which is very specific to you. It is very unique. It is very unique. We, in communication parlance, in communication lingo, in communication terminology, we call it a sieve. Each and everyone has a mental sieve which is very different from the other person. And because of this lens, we see the world through this lens, and we meet, and all the our this particular lens, that is us, we, it goes towards making sense of what we see and how we express ourselves in different permutations and combinations. Again, no two people from the same culture will be having the same lens. Please understand this. It is a sum total of how how have you been brought up. Now, these are the four, I guess I was here, four fundamental patterns of cultural differences. The communication styles are different. The attitude towards conflicts are different. Conflict is a unsavory situation, or a situation where things have gone wrong. It can even be as simple as misunderstanding a given situation. Next, decision making styles are different, and approaches to knowing or understanding are different. And I was giving an example for these different fundamental patterns of cultural differences. For example, communication styles. An Asian man, we try to, suppose if you're talking to a person of a upper level, say your boss, our body language is very different from an American talking to his boss. There they have a flat hierarchy. Okay, there the hierarchy is flat. What do you mean by flat hierarchy? We have a very steep hierarchy. In the sense, in India, a boss has to, he expects you to give him respect. You have to, wish him, and you have to ask before entering his cabin. You have to call him sir. This is a communication style of Asian countries, most of the Asian countries. But in the Western countries, the hierarchy is flat, in the sense they don't think that they are the boss and he's his junior. Nothing like that. They treat each other as friends. They can say hi, how are you. For example, if even in case of teacher student reaction, okay, here I can't expect you to call me Ambika, or neither you would do that, and it will be like, ma'am. But in the Western countries, it's on a single name, basis most of the times. Of course, there even there might be differences, but most of the times, say given 70%, that is the difference in communication styles. Even I was talking about eye contact and so on. Next, attitude towards conflicts. I gave the example of dating, the free mixing of youngsters in India. It is in the Asian countries, especially in India, it is not encouraged. Parents don't like that, and that is why we still have women's college. And even in co-ed college, girls sit separately and boys are made to sit separately. Yeah, that's our culture. Okay, that's our culture. We don't believe in premarital, or we don't believe in past life. We never believed in that. Okay, but for the Western people, they find it surprising. For example, they are surprised when they know that, when they get to know that even to this day, arranged marriages happen in India. And we are surprised to know that they date so many girls, and they even vice versa, and then they living together before deciding to get married. Sometimes they even have children before they get married. I mean, that is, we are surprised when you. I mean, this is the cultural difference, fundamental patterns. And I gave the exact example of, if a teenage girl gets pregnant in India, you can imagine the attitude towards this is a very huge kind of conflict that can happen in anybody's life. But in case of Western, irrespective of even commit suicide, anything is possible. You might go to the young girl anyway, and boy, whoever was responsible for that, he is not to be started. He makes himself scarce. And the same thing happens in the West. The attitude is totally different. Okay, because the youngsters they are brought up as individuals from the date of their birth, which is not the case in India, which is not our case. So you cannot expect the same reaction to happen. There, girl, it's her decision. I'm moving on to point number 3. It's her decision whether to keep the baby or not to keep the baby. And even though they are not married, the boyfriend who was responsible for this, he might lend a hand in bringing up the child. And she might marry or she might not. And she might end up being a single parent. The society is okay with that. Okay, they have those kind of support structure which we don't have in India. Next, approaches to dating. Again, these are all what you know, the way we try to know about certain things. These are all very different when it comes to cultural. These are the four different fundamental patterns of cultural differences. Next, I was into cross-cultural communication. Cross-cultural and intercultural means the same. It is the process of, I mean, it is just like any other communication, but then you need to understand the nuances, the fine, the sensitive aspects, the sensitive points, or the finer aspects of communication of that particular culture, whomever you are communicating with, and whatever is the background. And that's what verbal and non-verbal signs are interpreted completely different. For example, here, if you look at somebody in the eye, you are supposed to be very haughty. Okay, Haughy, haughty. What does it mean? That you are arrogant. Arrogant. Whereas in the West, if you don't make eye contact, they think that you are a shady character. They will have nothing to do with you because they think you are not a trustworthy person. A simple enough thing as a eye contact, a non-verbal sign. And we Asians, we use we are in between, if you want to put it that way. For example, in some cultures like Germans, they have limited. Japanese have limited non-verbal language. They tend to bank more on verbal communication to put across their meaning. But in some, for example, Spanish cultures, American cultures, they do a lot of gesticulations, body language, along with verbal to put across their meaning. That is whatever they are trying to communicate with. Now, why is cross-cultural communication important? Why is it that we need to learn? You have a paper, managerial communication for your first semester, okay? And in that, you have a small spot on cross-cultural communication. Now, why is it important? Now, globalization, it has opened the borders. not universe anymore. You call it global village. Why do you call it? Have you heard the terminology global village? Why do you use the terminology global village? Because the world has shrunk into that of a village. See, once upon a time, if you had some relatives or your children abroad, say in states or whatever, you had to you couldn't you had to once upon a time it was online telephone calling through the net telephone, but now after this internet thing has come, you had to have a camera. You had to have a camera webcam, and then you could talk. But now after WhatsApp, you just WhatsApp call and you feel as if you're talking to the person in the next room. The clarity. Okay, so that's why it has become almost like a place next to your house, isn't it? So global village, you can communicate with anyone and across the globe with the click of a button. I mean the cliched saying, the click of a button. So globalization, because of that, it has brought people and cultures more closer into contact with each other. And I was, if I remember correctly, before I switched over to here, I was telling you, like, at least now, people are the youngsters of today. You are a very lucky generation. You are the millennials are the very lucky generation in that you have so many portals these days. You don't need class. Okay, you have so many portals. You have Twitter, you have Facebook, you have Instagram, and you have so many other portals wherein which gives you access towards people of other cultures across the world. So you are aware of the cultural difference to certain extent. But if the same thing when it happened with the advent internet in the 70s and 80s, if a person is sent offshore, if he was supposed to go abroad, he was given a session on cross cultural communication, and I was about to give you an example of it. Okay, if I remember properly. Okay, by the way, is my voice very clear now? Very clear? Any glitches? Any cut in
Yeah,
between?
yeah, ma'am.
Is it clear? 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 Okay, thank you. Thank you. In case anything goes wrong, just let me know. Okay. That's the how do I put it? Negative point of offline. I mean online. You can't see the people whom you are addressing. If it is a classroom, I could see all of you, all the handsome young men and beautiful young girls. Okay. So yes, this is a real anecdote. This was in the 70s or early 80s, I believe. An engineer was sent abroad. Okay, at that point of time, and he wasn't from a metro. Only in metros, probably you could see some malls. Otherwise, to get this experience of the malls, you had to go abroad. So when he went, it was totally different culture. Of course, he was given a little bit of a small kind of training in cross-cultural communication and sent abroad. But still, for him, everything was new. Okay, and he was looking at everything from the cultural lenses. And I have some very unsavory stories also. If time permits, I'll tell you later. People go insane also. The cultural differences are huge in some of the situations. It is not something to be laughed at, but now this situation is a funny one. So the person, he used to, you need to go to the mall to buy whatever you need, ready to eat food, He used to go to the mall to buy whatever he wanted. And there, see, even here, in malls, you have young girls and young boys to help you with. If you don't find a certain item, you ask those people, like, where is this or where is that, and they'll help you. So the same thing happened there. They had very beautiful young girls. So every other girl used to come and help him out. Like, what do you what? And you know what? This person, this Indian, she had an interest in him personally. She was doing a job, and this person got, because it's from his culture. Here, you don't young girls don't come up and talk to you, do they? No, definitely not. So what happened? And he thought that the girl had a personal interest vested in him, and he used to go to that mall and he used to single out that particular girl and so on. And the anecdote ends there because probably his friends must have put
Ma'am,
him wise. Yes, yes, yeah. Come on, what is it? You wanted to tell me something?
still your voice is breaking.
Oh my God! Now I think I can't help it. Is it clear now? Oh, then
Yes,
it is
okay.
something to do with. Okay.
It's a little clear for some time.
Okay. Then suddenly it goes off the air, is it? I think then I'm really sorry about it. Anyway, once you come to class, we'll be having this session again. So in that case, I think I'll go ahead. But did you get the joke, or was that clear at least? The joke. Okay. Oh,
We
it's,
didn't understand,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am. No.
oh God. Um, it's okay. Go ahead. So what happens is, I can't help. Like am I at least understandable a little bit? Can you understand me a little bit at least? Is there some problem with your internet then? Your internet connection?
No,
What
ma'am.
about
No
the
problem.
others?
No, ma'am, it's your
Mine?
problem.
Well, switch off the fan. Let me see. Now is it clear? Is it clear now?
It's clear, ma'am. Little
Kind of, ma'am.
cutting.
Little better, better. Okay, I'll switch off the fan now. Doesn't matter if I swelter for some minutes. Okay, let me see whether you can hear me. I mean, this is really, and this never happened all the days, did it? Only today, or was this happening every other day?
Yes, ma'am.
Yesterday
It's
was
for today,
clear,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Every other day, especially.
No,
Yeah,
yesterday it was
that's what
clear.
happened. Yesterday it was okay, but when I addressed you for the first time, it was okay then, wasn't it? Anyway, we'll go ahead. ತುಂಬಾ ಇದು ಡಿಸ್ಟರ್ಬೆನ್ಸಸ್ ಉಂಟಂತೆ, ಕಟ್ ಕಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಉಂಟು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಭಾರಿ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಆಯ್ತಲ್ಲ ಇದು. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಯು ಫೀಲ್ ಡಿಸ್ಹಾರ್ಟನ್. You want students to listen to something that I've got to say, and it's very irritating even for you people, for me as well as you. It's very irritating when these things happen. Anyway, so let me go back to this. Yes, it's important because we are living in a global village now, and you come into contact with more and more people from different cultures. And when you are aware of these cross cultural differences, what happens? It opens business opportunities. Your business opportunities will grow. Your job opportunities will grow. Okay. You can improve the contribution of employees in a diverse workforce. What do you mean by diverse workforce? A diverse workforce is one wherein people of different cultures will be working together. Okay, when you're culture sensitive, you will definitely be a better team member. Okay, and that makes you gel with the other members in a better manner. It's a win-win situation. You learn something, you give something. Okay, and sharing of ideas and views becomes easier. Talent improvisation, there is a lot of scope for this, and an understanding of other cultures and differences. So cross cultural communication is very, very important. You have something known as high context and low context cultures. And the high context cultures, they rely heavily. What do you mean by rely? Depend. They depend heavily on non-verbal and subtle situational cues in communication. What do you mean by subtle situational cues? Cues or clues. See, clue is something which someone gives you a word, and that clue. You all what is a clue, but a cue is something which is hidden in the way you say it. Okay, probably your body language. And what do you mean by subtle? Subtle are very, very fine kind of movements that a person might have in his either voice or body language. So look at the picture over here. Japanese, Arabs, Latin Americans, Italians, British, French, till here, of course, these are very, very high context cultures. Okay. And these are very low context cultures. In a low context culture, they depend heavily on the spoken language rather than the body language. Okay, here the body language is more important. The non-verbal clues and cues are the meaning hedges on these things. See, for I would like to give you an example here. For you might, because for this you might not understand whatever I'm trying to tell you. See, humor humor is a very abstract quality. Okay, it's a very abstract quality, and there you don't listen to what is being said. You listen the way it is being said to understand the meaning, isn't it? Isn't it? Yes or no? Yes. See, for example, if I would like to give you an example of Kapil Sharma, he keeps saying something, and recently I haven't watched, but earlier he used to always insult his wife. You know, do you watch Kapil Sharma show? The what is the title of that show? Comedy? No, what is the title? Praveen,
Comedy
Kapil
nights with
Sharma show
Kapil.
title. Okay, the comedy nights with Kapil. Yes, he always used to insult his wife. Yes, and at that point of time, I mean, it used to evoke humor and laughter. Did you listen to what he said, or were you looking at the way he was saying it? It is the way a comedian says something that invokes laughter, isn't it? So that is the exactly the meaning of culture that relies heavily on non-verbal. There, the non-verbal and subtle situational cues gave the meaning to the communication, not what he was saying. Okay, so this is what happens. They gesticulate a lot. I think even we rely on non-verbal more than what we say. I mean, than verbal. When we are a high context culture, we use a lot of non-verbal communication when we are speaking to someone. And in low context culture, they have minimal body language. They depend mostly on verbal communication to communicate with people. Eye contact. See, in some cultures, looking people in the eye is assumed to indicate honesty. That is in the Western culture, and straightforwardness. Whereas in our culture, we see it as rude. You're not supposed to. But haven't you seen that Baap Beta scene in any movie, or Sas Bahu serial in any movie? The Bahu is always, she cannot look Sas in the eye. Oh, God forbid. She has to always, look demure, look down. God knows what she'll be thinking, but whatever. She cannot make eye contact. That's very wrong. That is supposed to be very rude. Eye contact continued. See, look at this. In Indian culture, you would think probably either they are very good friends, or probably they are having a tiff between them. Yes. See, in the USA, in the States, that the very effective way to connect with people is to look into them, look them in the eye. See, when you're going abroad, unless you want to communicate with anyone, don't look them in the eye. You should never look at people's faces, because if you look at their faces, you need to smile, because in the moment you make eye contact, you need to smile. That's an unwritten rule there. Or don't make eye contact, you don't look at them. That's very, very important. Okay, this when you're making eye contact, it means you're connecting with someone. You're connecting there, literally. Next, see, in Arab cultures, you cannot if you keep if you maintain eye contact for long, it is supposed to be disrespectful. If you never connect, that is supposed to be disrespectful. Okay, and in English culture, a certain amount is required, but not too much wherein it makes people uncomfortable. Just look at the cultural differences. One single noble body language, that is eye contact, and look at the different cultural behavior, the norms or the different expectations from different cultures. You wouldn't know like how to do if you are in an English culture or an Arab culture or states. So you have to, it will be just in moderation. Okay. Next, gestures. What do you mean by gesture? See, most of the people pronounce this as gesture. It is not gay, it's a J. The spelling is G, of course, but it's pronounced as gestures. Okay. For example, don't you like to eat chocolates? This is a very, very common example. This is the very a definite example that I give. How many of you like to eat chocolates? I can't see you raise your hands, but I take it that all of you love to eat a chocolate which is known as either it's colorful. It is M&M. It's known as M&M, and there is another name for Cadbury's in it. Can somebody tell me what is it known as? M&M is a huge clue, wide clue, a big clue that I'm giving you. Small buttons like colorful chocolates. What do you call that? Cadbury's. What do you call it? Gems, isn't it? Cadbury gems. Don't you like to eat chocolates? Gems. What is the spelling of gems? It's GEMS, isn't it? Do you pronounce it as gems? So please remember gems and gesture. Gems and gesture. Remember it in tandem, so you will never forget the pronunciation. So, what is gesture? A gesture is a motion of either your hands or head or body to emphasize an idea or emotion. Now, look at the example that I have given here. Just one non-verbal gesture, and in USA it means okay. In Russia it means zero. In Japan it means money, and in Brazil it means insult. It's an obscene. It's an obscene gesture when it comes to Brazil. Obscene. You might get beaten up if you go and do show. If you show this gesture to someone. So look at the differences. See, in Japan it means money, but don't we Indians have a gesture for money? We have a gesture for money, isn't it? Like you do this. This means money. Now, how can the same gesture be treated differently in different countries, cultures? See, in Egypt, it means be patient. In Italy, it means what exactly do you mean? And in Greece, it means that's just perfect. Just one gesture. Even we use this, can you give me some time, please? Please, when we use this. Like this in Indian culture, I think some time or some concession or some of something. We use this as some, S-O-M-E, some. Next, what blocks us to connect each other across cultures? These are certain blocks, road blocks or barriers. See, what do you mean by barrier? A barrier is like a gate or a door or it's like a gate or a door, say. If the door is closed, can you enter the room or can you enter the house? No. If the door is locked, can you enter? If the gate is locked, can you enter the courtyard? No. So these barriers are invisible roadblocks or are invisible barriers when it comes to communication. Okay, what are those? And when the barriers are present, communication doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. And whether we like it or not, barriers are a part of communication. They are bound to be there. Okay, for example, you have ethnocentrism. What do you mean by ethnocentrism? It is the inability. Ethno is something to do with ethnic background. It's like culture centrism. What does it mean? It is the inability to accept somebody else's cultural culture or their worldview. It's always like my way is the best. That is a very huge block when it comes to cross cultural communication. The second is discrimination, differential treatment. What do you mean by differential treatment? Is a wrong kind of treatment, partial treatment. Okay, partial treatment is when a differential treatment of an individual due to his minority status, which could be real or perceived. See, in we Indians, we accord a differential treatment to the politicians, don't we? We treat them like gods and they behave like one, whereas they are nothing but servants of. And the other day, this is, I'm going a little out of the context. The other day I had received a WhatsApp message. Okay, it was a video, I'm sorry. It showed the Canadian president. He's a youngster, a Canadian president. The way he's moving around in the metro, he's shaking hands with someone, he's standing with people to click pics. We are surprised to look at that, because here, imagine a president. He is the president of Prime Minister of Canada, I believe. Prime Minister or President of Canada, I don't remember, but he's a youngster, and he is moving as if he's a common man. But in India, the roads are blocked. Roads are blocked some miles before, and then some police escort in before you, some after you, an ambulance. What nonsense is this? because one VIP is coming. That is differential treatment based on an individual's. It can be minority status, majority status, or it can be real or perceived. Perceived is whatever you think. And suppose if it is a minority status, for example, how do we treat the social outcasts? How do we treat the third gender? What do you mean by third gender? The people who are neither male nor female, they are known as the third gender. We don't call them what is it? The neutral gender anymore. They are known as the third gender. How do we treat them? We treat them like outcasts in the society. We treat them in a very bad manner. For example, handicapped people. Okay, that's all discrimination. These are all blocks. Then stereotyping. What do you mean by stereotyping? See, before going to stereotyping, I just remembered one more example when it comes to discrimination. The example there that I have given here even is we just aren't equipped to serve people like that. What does it mean? They are just for example, can a physically challenged child, can he study along with other children of his age? He's People look at him, the teachers look at him, his classmates in such a way that he has committed a crime, isn't it? So that this is discrimination for you. And then stereotyping, just looking at a person's culture, okay, generalizing, okay, they are like this, these are like this, all Asians are like that, just because. And I remember an example of I don't remember the name of the movie. It is like about Muslims and so on. People, and the same happens in the other side also. Okay, we are just stereotyping people, and I am stereotyped 100 almost every other time I go to the mall. You know why? Because I look very Indian. I mean, very how do I put it? Typical Indian woman, isn't it? From my hairstyle to my bindi to my the way I'm wearing my dress, sari, everything. And you know what happens? People think when they look at me, this is real. Okay, this is a real anecdote I'm telling you. They think I don't know. I can't speak English. This is a typical stereotyping reaction that I get when I meet people. Because as far as they are concerned, English lecturers should have a bobbed hairstyle, okay, shouldn't have any bindis, they should look anglicized, if you want the exact word. Only then they'll take you seriously as an English teacher. If not, and you won't believe this, when this courier people come, no, if I have to sign for something, they tell me illi sign haki. Even I don't speak in English when I go out, okay, the local language. And I ask them, illi sign hakbeku, illi haki. They show me the dotted line. What does that mean? They have stereotyped me into a homemaker, not even homemaker, probably an illiterate homemaker. So this is what happens. Why go abroad? Even in India, in our own backyard, we have so many cultural differences. So many cross cultural communication goes wrong. We need not go abroad. Continued. These are the some other cultural blocks that you have. See, one is cultural blindness. What do you mean by cultural blindness? We ignore about the differences in other culture. See, I remember an anecdote here. What do you mean by an anecdote? An anecdote is a personal experience of someone. Okay, a personal experience. This is a real anecdote, not mine, somebody else's. I read this through. There are two people. I mean, when I was just talking about teams and diverse situations, diverse cultures, and so on. An American and a Japanese, both of them, they wanted to visit the cemetery. See, in the Western countries here, I think Christians have certain days a year where they visit a cemetery. I don't remember when exactly, but usually it is in the month of I think it's before Halloween, in the month of October, if I'm not wrong. So what they do is they usually go to the cemetery and they clean the cemetery and they water plants or whatever. They go, I know about it. And here I had a Christian friend, okay. She told me that during that day, they I think October 31st. Any Christian here? Is it All Saints Day? I don't remember the exact terminology. She said they prepare. This I'm talking about Canada, Mangalore. She said they prepare a kind of sweet known as mandas. Okay, and they take it to the cemetery, and it is given as an offering. Now, coming back to my story, both the Japanese and the American, they are visiting a cemetery. Now, the Japanese is carrying a bowl of rice, cooked rice, a bowl of cooked rice to give to offer to his departed relative, and this American is carrying a bouquet, a flower element, pretty flowers. Now, when both of them enter, and the Japanese, offers his cooked rice in front of the cemetery. I mean, in front of the what is that? He offers it there. You know what happens? This American laughs at him. He laughs and asks this Japanese person, now why does he have to laugh at someone? But look at this is known as cultural blindness. Okay, this is the people don't even think their culture has any importance. Oh, my culture is the perfect one. This American laughs this Japanese it seems saying that, oh, I didn't know your relative will come out to eat the rice. When is he going to come out? The Japanese didn't like this. Nobody would like it. No one likes all these kind of snide comments. You know what he says? He says it seems if your relative can come up to smell the flowers that you have offered, why can't my relative come up and eat the rice? The anecdote ends there. But I think you have understood about cultural blindness with this example. We should always respect others' culture. If your culture is important to you, so is the next person's culture to him. We can't degrade or you can't cheapen somebody's culture just because you don't believe it. Okay, and India is known for its cultural. How do I put it? We always, time being, I'm not remembering the word. We always, we are a tolerant people. We are known for our cultural tolerance. And that is why India is a land of multi-cultures, multi-genes. Across its differences, you have, for example, the Kannada or Tulu. Don't you have different types of Tulu? Don't you have different types of Kannada? Don't you have different types of Konkani? For example, Kannada, in Mangalore, we speak of Konkani. Kochi, their Konkani is different. I'm talking about GSP. Christians, again, Goan Konkani is very different to our Konkani. So, one land, different culture, and different cuisines. And that is why a nation of unity in diversity. Next, cultural imposition. This is wherein fanaticism comes in. Fanaticism is only our culture is good and you should conform to our culture, which is very wrong. We should know we know what is best. Next is the tone, the difference in the tone. See, there are three different types of tone. You have the formal tone, you have the semi-formal tone, and you have the informal. When you're talking to your boss, your principal, or your lecturer, say principal, it's very formal. It's a very formal tone. It's when you're talking to your favorite lecturer, probably you are quite friendly, and it is informal, semi-formal. You still respect, but when you're talking to your friends, it is informal. So in most of the cases, formal tone or the change in the formal tone becomes embarrassing or off-putting in some cultures. For example, an American comes here, and I have experienced that. Not American, our own Indians have gone abroad. When they come back, they start addressing us by their names, by our names. My uncle, he was in the States, okay? And when he was young, while he was studying, my dad sponsored his education. Okay, my dad sponsored his education. He went abroad and he came back one day just to visit. And he addressed my dad by his name instead of calling Anna. We say Anna, no? We respect our elders. And he started addressing my dad by his name because he has imbibed the Western culture. Okay, fine. When you are there, when you are in Rome, be a Roman. It's so no problem. But when you come back to India, I mean, when you're, the same is applicable there as well as here, isn't it? We got really, we felt very bad. We felt very bad. And you know what my brother did? And when he was addressing his uncle, when he had gone to school, my brother, he came back, and my uncle like, hi Ajit, how are you? And he had heard this interchange of, calling names. He addressed by my uncle by his name. He said, I'm very good, Ajay. How are you? You should have seen my uncle's face. He was shocked when the nephew, my young brother, called him by his name. And probably he must have read between the lines. Why did that happen? So imagine, immediately he reverted back to, instead of saying Anna, Annakashastu. So the tone, the difference, it can be very off-putting in some cultures, and you have to be very careful of these things when you're communicating uh, in cross-cultural situations. Now, how can you improve your cross-cultural communication? How can it be improved? See, you have to overcome ethnocentrism. It's very easy. You need not even think all these. We need to be sensitive enough to others' cultures. I'm not even going to explain any of these, because these are all whatever I've explained till now. If you are sensitive to other people, done. Enough. That in itself tells you how to talk to people, okay, how to interact with people, when to give respect, where to give respect, how much respect should you give, okay, what is your role in that particular cross-cultural communication, what is it that you want to communicate, all these things. If you are empathetic towards someone, if you are sensitive towards someone, these things automatically falls into place. So this is not something new, okay? This is inherent. What do you mean by inherent? This is a bond within us. Does this need to be taught to anybody? You just need to be sensitive to other cultures. That's all. If you value your culture highly, so does, never forget that the other person too values his culture very I mean, even for him, his culture is something big. Okay, these are the 10 precautions that need to be always adhered to, stuck to, or looked upon in cross-cultural communication. Before we go any forward, is my voice clear now? Any breaks in between?
Most of
Hello?
the time, ma'am.
Are you there? Except, but it's better than previous. I have
Kind of,
switched
not
off the
much
fan
better.
now. Is it
Yeah.
better? But you can get the gist of what I'm trying to put across, can't you? Can understand? Are you
A little
following,
bit,
all of you?
little
Okay,
bit.
thank you so much. Yeah, thank you, and sorry about that. Anyway, so these are the 10 precautions which you need to look into when you're going into cross-cultural communication. You need to slow down. What is the meaning of slow down? Slow down is, before jumping into communicating with someone, try to get the bearings of your situation. Okay? Then, if you have any questions, if you should ask or receive it as separate questions, okay, and you should avoid negative questions. See, many a times, no, again, this is another anecdote. My niece states, okay, she wears bindi, of course not this one big, a small one. So once a neighbor came and asked her, instance, Aruna, do you have to always put this sticker here, or can it, what is the importance? She asked. Of course, it wasn't a negative question. It was an she was interested to know about the culture. So she asked it, why do you wear this bindi? So my niece told that if you are married, you are supposed to wear. So then she asked it simply, do you have to always wear it on your forehead, or can you wear it anywhere else on your body? So these are, you need to avoid some negative questions, like, for example, Muslims cover their hair. I mean, they cover their hair, scarf. You have to wear it. Or what happens if you don't wear it? Some might see it as funny, some might see it as negative. You never know. So you need to, coming back to the first point, slow down. You need to slow down. That is, you need to take your communication slowly unless you get to know the person better, because you never know whether he's going to take it as negative or positive, isn't it? So this is what is the meaning of slow down, separate questions and avoid negative questions. Then take turns. What is the meaning of take turns? You just don't go on bombarding the other person as a service culture. Give him some breather so that if he wants to ask you some questions, give him time. I mean, give him a space. So taking turns. Okay. Then write it down. If you have a doubt regarding something, it's better to put it down in black and white. So you can always go back. And we need to be supportive. Okay, and we need to check meaning because in different in cross cultural contextual communication the meanings might change. Okay, so you need to be very careful of that. They use a lot of swearings or those kind of things. You never know what it means or what it might not, so you need to cross check whether whatever you have understood or perceived is correct or not. Then you need to avoid slangs at all times. Another very important point which is not here is, see, when you are in a mixed group, this is in the from same background. Say for example, you are some 20 classmates. You are going to a mall, to watch a movie. Now some of them might not know, they might not understand your Kogi. Some of you might imagine that there are some Malayalis, some Malayali speaking friends, some Konkani, some Tulu. Now Tulu, some might, so some, at least one or two might not understand one or the other language there. So when you are in a mixed group, you should always etiquette demands that you should pick the common language. Did you know this? You're not supposed to branch out into your language, or you're not supposed to, because who they might think that you are talking about them, something that they shouldn't understand. Okay, so that is one thing. And what do you mean by slang? Slang can be an idiomatic expression. Okay, it can be a word, it can be a phrase, it can be a non-verbal thing. So you need to avoid slang. It is very important that you need to avoid slang, because people might get hurt if you keep using slang. Next, you need to, suppose in some instances, like I told you, the negative question, like it creates humor. Like, can you wear the bindi anywhere on your body? That's funny, isn't it? So you need to watch out the humor and laugh in those situations. Nothing wrong. He's asking, or don't take it negatively because he doesn't know your culture. Yes, and maintain etiquette. So you mean by etiquette? See, this word is pronounced as etiquette, not etiquette. The Q is silent. It's etiquette. And what is etiquettes? Etiquettes are the unwritten rules of common behavior. Unwritten rules of polite behavior is known as etiquettes. What do you mean by etiquette? Handshake, or namaste, and so on. Smile. These things are common etiquettes. Now, how can we develop cross-cultural communication skills? Tact. What do you mean by tact? Being sensitive. Tact, who said this? Abraham Lincoln was the opinion that tact is the ability to describe others as they see themselves. All we need to do is just be sensitive. We need to be sensitive, and today youngsters have to be sensitized towards these cultural nuances, the cultural differences. If you're just sensitive and empathetic enough, what do you mean by empathetic? Empathy, what is empathy? Empathy is looking at something from somebody else's viewpoint. If you're empathetic and if you're tactful, if you're sensitive, you can become a very good communicator, whether within the culture or across cultures. Okay, the same thing here in different terminologies. 10 strategies. What do you mean by strategies? Strategies are plans. Okay, to develop your cross cultural communication in an effective manner. You need to ask questions. You need to be aware of different perspectives. What do you mean by perspective? Worldview. The way we understand a given thing is entirely different from our neighbor. Neighbor in the sense who is sitting next to you. Okay, then you need to build self-awareness. You need to recognize the complexity of this type of communication. Communication itself is difficult. We think it is easy. It is not easy. It is not. And when you recognize the complexity, which is inherent in any communication scenario, automatically will become, more, will be more honest, will be more flexible, will listen attentively, will learn how to respect differences, and will avoid stereotyping, and will think twice before saying something. Okay, so these are, if you have these in your, if you in your, how do I put it, in your resume, or inherently, if you develop these things, you can definitely ace in communication scenario, and that is the best possible scenario is 75% effective. That's all. Now these are some of the skills, whatever I had my previous slides. You need to respect differences when you're working together. See, the American was laughing at the Japanese, and he himself had come with flask. What guarantee was there that his relative would come out a special flask, that he has the right to laugh at the Japanese person? And I heard even in South Canada, they offer, they go, when they go to the cemetery, they offer something. Offerings are made. The other day, this again, because I'm sure all of you have seen this, the Kannada film star, the Chiranjeevi Sarja, passed away at a very young age, and there was for months together, there was nothing else on the television other than that, the local channels. And even I was shocked, and even I watched that. Okay, his burial was happening. Then he was buried, and then they offered, there lots of offerings was made the next day and that day. Offerings of ghee, offerings of milk. You can't laugh because it is somebody's culture. You cannot think that they are pouring all this on the mud. They could have fed some young child with that. You can't say those things. It is their their belief that they need to nurture the dead. This is an extreme example, but still. And then, see, build trust. You need to, whether it is across cultural boundaries or within cultural boundaries. See, building trust is a very, very difficult and a hard job. It's not easy to gain somebody's trust. Okay, it takes lots of patience. It takes lots of working together. It takes a lot respecting differences to build trust. And when you build trust across cultural boundaries, it becomes easy to overcome differences. And we need to understand body language. See, in our culture, like I told you, boys, girls, people of different sexes, we don't work together. I mean, very rarely, even if you work together, you still maintain the space between each other. You don't fall on each other. Do we fall on each other? But in the Western culture, they don't think of sitting very close to each other and working on the system. For them, it is common, because that is from very young, they used to interact in a mixed group. So understanding body language becomes very, very important. It's very important, because otherwise we might read unwanted meaning in the body language. Your boss might, for young girls now who are listening, you might join an MNC, and your boss is a European person. You are working on the system. He comes and stand very close to you, and he's peering over your shoulder on your system, your desktop, and you are wondering that he has ulterior motives. It might not be that. Probably he's not even aware of the cultural differences. Though these days people are becoming more and more aware to these sensitive issues. And when you have the skills to understand all these things, connecting with people becomes easier. Okay, connecting with people becomes easy. Now, business is not a one day match. What does it mean? It means, see, when you join a job, or as a trainee, or in a permanent position, it is not for a day or two, isn't it? It's for keeps. Of course, you might not stay in the same company, but you'll be working somewhere else. And again, when you speak of business, it is not a one day match. In the sense, it's a continuation, isn't it? It's a continuation. So what does this mean? And when see business, especially in today's scenario, it's an Olympics. What does it mean by Olympics? It has a lot of, you have to interact with international people from international backgrounds. Okay, only then, and you can survive the scenario. You can survive in your business today. So to do that, you need to do your homework. What does it mean by doing your homework? You need to be aware of other cultures and the way they tick and the way they react, the way they communicate. There are specific cultural nuances when it comes to body language, and communication becomes that much more important. Okay. Any questions? Thank you for listening. Do you have any questions? How many of you watch Mr. Bean?
Hello?
Hello? Any questions? Okay.
Yeah, any questions? No, you asked for how many of you watched Mr. Bean? I
Yeah.
watched.
You watch? Do you know how the see, if you see the person in his regular form, you won't even think he is a comedian. He's a comedian, okay? And did you know how we thought about coming up with this his screen persona? Have you read that anecdote? Anyone? Can you tell me? We all love to watch Mr. Bean, don't we?
We all love to
Can you tell me how it happened?
tell me how it happened. Now I have gone to his history.
Okay.
Okay. So he's having his stammering issues, and no one allowed him to act in movies and all.
Hmm.
Mm. So finally, he began start to act in comedy. And
Mm-hmm.
later on, he became like this. He have been achieved his career in this character.
No, okay, you're
No,
right.
okay,
But
you're
there is
right.
one,
But there is one.
I'm getting echoes. My own voice is echoing. See, there is an instance. One day he was standing in front of his mirror to shave, it seems. And that is when he observed lots of facial, how do you make faces, isn't it? When you shave, unknowingly you do this, do that, and so on. And that is when he got the idea of becoming a comedian. That's he has said in one of his interviews. And of course, what you said is also true. Who gave that answer, by the way?
Joseph, ma'am.
Very good, Joseph. Yes, yes, very nice. So see, look at the last slide here. You have thank you in different languages, isn't it? How many different
How many
languages?
different
Right?
languages? Right?
Oh my God. So thank you so much. Sorry for the disturbances. I hope you all enjoyed. I, for one, definitely enjoyed. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, Joseph. പറടാ ഹായ് ജോസഫ്. പറടാ. എവിടെ നിന്നാടാ? എടാ ഞാൻ കൊച്ചിടാ. ആ ഇപ്പൊ ജോയിൻ ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. ഏ ശ്രീനിവാസിൽ ജോയിൻ ചെയ്തിനാ? ചെയ്തടാ, അഡ്മിഷൻ എടുത്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. വാട്സാപ്പ് ഗ്രൂപ്പിലൊന്നുമില്ല. ഞാൻ ഉണ്ട്. നീ ഇല്ലേ? നീ ഉണ്ടല്ലോ ഗ്രൂപ്പില്. മുർഷിദ് ഉണ്ടല്ലോ. ഞാനിപ്പോ ലാസ്റ്റ് രാവിലെ മെസ്സേജ് അയക്കുകയും ചെയ്തല്ലോ. നീ ഉണ്ടല്ലോ. ഉണ്ടോ? നീ ഉണ്ടോ? ഞാന് മറ്റേ നിഖിലില്ലെന്ന് ചോദിച്ചു മെസ്സേജ് അയച്ചേക്കുന്നത് ഞാനാണ്. അക്ഷയ എന്താ മിണ്ടാത്ത? എന്റെ ഉച്ചയൊന്നും കേൾക്കണില്ലല്ലോ. എന്താ അക്ഷയ എന്തൊന്നും ഉണ്ടായിരിക്കുന്നു? എടാ നീ എവിടെ നടാ? കാസർഗോഡ് കണ്ടല്ലേ മുർഷിദ്? ഏടാ അതെവിടെയായിട്ടാണ് സ്ഥലം എവിടെ?
മാംഗ്ലൂരിലെ
നിന്റെ ഫ്രണ്ടാന്ന് തോന്നുന്നു, കൂടെ ഒരാളോട്
വോയിസ് ക്ലിയർ
കേൾക്കണില്ല.
ഇല്ല.
നിനക്കൊരു ഫ്രണ്ടോട് ഇല്ലേ നിന്റെ കൂടെ?
എന്റെ കൂടെ
ആ.
എന്റെ പേരെന്താണ്? ഞാൻ വാട്സാപ്പിലേക്ക് വരാം, ഇതിൽ ക്ലിയർ ഇല്ല.
ഗ്രൂപ്പിലേക്ക് വാ, ക്ലിയർ ആവണില്ല.
ഓക്കെ ശരി.
ഹലോ.
ശരി.